Today we're looking at a VFR approach in the Aerobask Eclipse 550 NG. We're approaching Zurich runway 32 in the Eclipse 550 NG. This is part of landing practice. I've had a little bit of a problem with the center line, so I'm practicing VFR approaches. I think that can happen when you do a lot of ILS approaches. You get used to being kind of guided down center line. A lot of this approach is trying to work out power settings. I've kind of semi-deliberately avoided looking at approach and touchdown speeds. Been using it as kind of an experiment to figure out for myself what the best approach and touchdown speeds are. I would say probably you're looking at an approach speed of 99 knots up to landing flaps and then reducing it to about 85 knots. That's what I touch down at, or I think I'm crossing the runway threshold at about 85 knots. That's probably what to aim for. It's looking at power settings. See, I'm a little bit left of center when I touch down. So over the in point, power down to 0. I think if you're a little bit faster, it's going to be more difficult to properly flare the aircraft. Just a little bit, a fraction left of center line. So I've talked before about the perfect landing, or managing landings a little bit better so you get into touchdown at less than 100 FPM. And the real secret to that, I think, is finding out the best power position during the round out and flare. And with this aircraft it appears to be just to reduce power to idle. If you reduce power too much, you're going to hit the ground hard, and too little and you are going to float. So it's finding the balance between too little and too much power. On taxi, and this is just complete experimentation, but I found getting the power to about 50% is going to give you up to about 20 knots taxiing. I think you're looking for 15 to 20 on taxi. Certainly on a long runway like Zurich, you've got a lot of runway before you get to the next turn off. So I'm looking for 20, maybe you could even go as high as 25 knots. I make the mistake at the end of the runway of reducing power to idle. I think probably reducing power to about 25% will give you a turn-off speed of about 10 knots, which I think is going to be the target ground speed. And reducing it to idle really reduces speed to close to 0 knots, so that was a mistake right at the end of this runway. Of course, we're using X-Enviro, so you get more detailed clouds. Some of the clouds look really nice on the ground, some of them don't. Some of them look a little bit low resolution, for want of a better word. Of course, clouds look really nice, generally speaking, when you're flying through them. So there's a little bit of improvement there to be made on the ground, in my opinion. But of course, we are at version 1.11. Perhaps by the time you're looking at this video, there might have been further improvements. I know people are complaining about graining on the clouds, which is a performance issue. I would like to see them put sliders in for detail. I don't know why they don't do that. That seems to me the obvious fix. Frame rates on this approach got down to about 20 FPS. You can see bottom left. So there's still some room for improvement. I'm not sure why they're not adding sliders. That has been a long-standing way of dealing with performance issues with clouds. So getting back to the aircraft itself, so we're coming up to the turn-off. I haven't had time yet to do a complete flight. I'm still getting the hang of landing the aircraft and the power settings, but it is an aircraft that I would highly recommend. Visually it looks very good, it's got a lot of detail, the glass cockpits. I'm a fan of steam gauges, but I can live with this glass cockpit. So as you can see here, we're slowing right down to 0. It's a bit of a handful on approach, there's a lot of movement. I don't know whether that's something to do with the experimental flight model in X-Plane, but I'm getting a lot of vertical and lateral movement, even in 0 wind conditions. There's no crosswind in this landing. Even then the aircraft tends to bounce around quite a bit. So that was a VFR landing at Zurich. Hope you enjoyed that. As always, feel free to like, comment and subscribe.